What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to Maps Exposed, the series where I cover all the lines of sight, wall runs, as well as other secret spots that I know of on every map in Black Ops 3. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the map Evac. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so I was going to save the best spot for last, but I just thought, why not show it first? So this is an amazing spot. For everybody that has played this map, you know that right up here is a very popular power position, pretty much on any game mode and coming from either direction. You can pretty much control this entire open area here, you can challenge people over there, and from this way you can control everything over here very effectively if you have the right gun in this setup. So I have an amazing line of sight if you're coming from that direction and you want to pick this guy off here. He'll have absolutely no clue what hit him. So first off, I'll just show you one spot that's pretty good and I do see a fair number of people using, and that is right on this white thing here. If you drop down like this and you crouch and move your way over like this, there you go. You get a pretty good line of sight. You are exposing a little bit of yourself, but you have this as cover so you can kind of strafe back and forth. Just don't strafe too far or you'll fall off. And that's a pretty good line of sight. But a lot of people don't know about this one. Look at that. This is probably the most amazing line of sight on this map. I do have some other amazing ones, but this one is just ridiculous. You can easily pick that guy off there, and there's no way he'll know that you're there unless he maybe has a thermal sight. That's the only way I could ever see him figuring out where you are before you actually kill him. Because look at that. You don't really see much through there because you have those vines in the way, or whatever that is, that foliage in the way. Without a thermal sight, there is no way I'm going to be seeing anybody in that window. Now, coming from the other side, if you want to challenge that guy, there are definitely a few different options available to you here. So the first one is you can jump on top of this right here, and if you stand up, you get a line of sight on him. Crouch, you're completely hidden. Stand up, line of sight, crouch, you're hidden. So, decent spot there. Another spot is all the way back here. If you jump up on top of this stuff, you can just barely see him right through there, like between the tree and that piece there. Sometimes that works, but if he's over to the left a little bit and on that slanted part, you won't really get a good line of sight on him from here. Some people will try and like lay down and peek through here, but I found you actually expose quite a bit of your left shoulder here to him, so it really isn't the best spot. Instead, the best spot for me is jump on top of this ledge right here, stand up, and there you go. It's a perfect head glitch to counter him here. You can't really see the base there, but once he's actually standing there, it's very clear. You can see him very easily, and he's not going to see you because all he'll see is your forehead, and he's not typically looking here for somebody to be standing. Now, another way to challenge that guy that isn't necessarily a line of sight, it's just a different way to challenge him, especially off the opening road or something. If you jump over to this area here and come around the corner, you can get a nice line of sight on him, but you have to get your shots off quickly. If he's somebody that's really paying attention, I catch people all the time that are trying that sneaky move right there where they come around that corner. They will catch you off guard, but most of the time they're looking, I don't know, somewhere over here or here. And if they really have tunnel vision or they have like a scope that zooms in far like this one that I have right now, they won't see you. But if they're really paying attention, they'll catch you out of the corner of the eye. You're out of their corner of their eye. They'll snap to you and they'll be able to kill you. So when you come around that corner, be ready to kill this guy quickly. Now, using that same ledge, I love to use that ledge going the other way if I'm trying to sneak around into the enemy spawn from in here. So just jump in the water. If you jump up here, wall run across here, there's no way they'll see you. You can be really, really sneaky here, and there you go. You're now on their flank. If they were on these yellow barrels, they can't see you doing that move at all. If they're over here, they obviously can't see you doing that move. So it's a great way to get onto their flank here if they're really set up strong in this area. Now, right in this area here, if you have your enemies that are spawning back there and they're coming through this area here, a lot of the times they'll post up on that yellow barrel there, and this is pretty much a fair gunfight. And if they have like a better gun for this situation, they'll probably beat you in this situation. So a great way to take those guys off guard is to jump up on here and then jump up on this little crate right here. There you go. You get a little bit of more of a height advantage on them, which gives you more of an advantage. You can crouch to take cover completely, stand up, and you have a great line of sight on them, and they don't usually expect you to be back here. Now, getting over towards the middle of the map, if you're challenging enemies that are up there, say you're just coming through this doorway here, and you have enemies that are up there, pretty much everybody tries to challenge them right here, and this is where they're going to be pre-aiming and expecting you to come from. Just a bit of an alternative here is jump up on this table here. A lot of people didn't know you could do this, and just slowly strafe your way over. You don't get a full line of sight of that entire area over there, but it does give you a little bit of an advantage against those guys that aren't expecting your head to be poking up through there. Now, if you're coming from this direction and you know your enemies are funneling through this area right here, instead of standing up to challenge them, you can actually just lay down and shoot them through this area right here. Great way to pick those guys off, especially in like Safeguard or something. If you have the robot and you're escorting through this middle area and all your enemies are grouping up in there, instead of exposing a bunch of yourself, just lay down and you can pick them off through this crack. They'll have no idea what hit them. Another line of sight over towards the middle of the map here, when people are set up on the top of those stairs and they're looking down this way and you don't really have much cover to challenge them this way, and if you do use the cover here, you're exposing yourself to both those guys as well as those guys, and it's exactly where they expect you to go. Instead of that, jump up on this table over here and just slowly strafe over. You have to be really careful you don't strafe off. You're kind of actually floating in midair right here. But there you go. You get a little bit of a line of sight on them there. You can also strafe into this and shoot through this tarp right here, which can be very effective as you see them and like shoot behind as you go behind the tarp. Can be a very effective way to pick those guys off. Now right here is an awesome line of sight that I don't see enough people using. So if enemies are coming through that doorway towards like the B area here, most people will just stand right here and try and challenge them. This is a fair gunfight. Neither of you have cover, and it's basically a 50-50 at this point. To stack the odds in your favor, jump up on top of this, and look at that. Great cover looking over top of this. You can crouch to get even more cover, and you can very easily pick them off there, and they don't usually expect to see you there when they come around this corner. Now, kind of the reverse to that, it's not quite as good, but it's still better than standing out in the open, is to jump up on top of this, crouch, and there you go. You get a nice line of sight over on anybody that's coming up the stairs there, or from right over there. Now, getting over towards where the A spawns are, when you have enemies that are spawning back in that building and they're coming from this way, and you're right around here and you want to challenge those enemies, a lot of times people will just come around the corner, stand out in the open, and this isn't ideal. Instead, a very simple maneuver is jump on top of these red benches, and there you go. You have excellent cover looking over towards where those spawns are. It's a much better way to handle this situation, and all it takes is a quick half second to jump up on the bench. Now, if your enemies are coming through that doorway there, and maybe you're coming out of spawn in this A spawn here, and you're kind of pinned in, great way to challenge them is to jump up on the white barrel right here. You have a nice line of sight on them. You can crouch to take cover, stand up to take them out. Also, if they're trying to take your A flag, this is a great way to get a line of sight on them that they don't usually expect. And you can jump up here and challenge the people that are up there as well. So this is a great position if you're trying to break out of this spawn and they've really got set up on these positions here. Another option to get a line of sight over to that area there is to simply jump on top of this. And there you go. Great line of sight in there. They don't usually look this far back. Crouch, you have a little bit more cover. Lay down, you're completely covered from them. Stand up, and there you go. Great line of sight towards them. Another thing to point out, right on these steps over here, you actually get a little bit of a line of sight over to where that power position is over there. They do have to kind of expose themselves a little bit more than they usually would, but sometimes they peek out a little too much over there, and you can pick them off from right here. Now, as you're coming out of these A spawns, again, people really love setting up, like up on that area right there, and I see people that just run straight through this doorway, and they get destroyed by those people. So as you're coming out of spawn, if you expect somebody to be up there, the cautious way to play it is crouch, and just slowly work your way around this corner like that. You'll get a much better line of sight on them. Usually, all you'll see is their legs if they're pushed up far enough, but if they're smart, I'll show you the perfect counter to that. Instead of standing up like this, where they can't really see you, behind there and they can see your legs very clearly. If they're smart, they'll approach it from right here and they'll have a perfect counter to you. Now, if you're over in this direction here and your enemies are in the second story over there, a lot of people will just like use the barrels here to try and challenge them, or they'll maybe jump up on this white barrel and crouch, which isn't that great because you are exposing a lot of your body, but it's still not a terrible position. The best way I've found to take these guys out is there will be some glass right here. Just break this glass. You have to stand on this little ledge. If you stand on the steps here, you can't quite get high enough to get a really good line of sight on them. You can maybe see a little bit of like their head and shoulders. But just by taking that little step over onto this little metal piece right here, and you come right up to the top of the stairs, there you go. Great line of sight on that entire second story. You can just back off a little bit to take cover, or you can simply crouch to take cover, which is a much faster way. Stand up, great line of sight on those people. It's the best way to pick them off, in my opinion, from this side of the map. Now, if the enemies are set up on that yellow barrel or that white barrel over there, a lot of people will just run straight out in the open like this and get picked off. A great way to challenge them, as long as you know that this side of the map is safe. That is the key here. If this area of the map is safe, jump up on top of this, I don't know if it's like a planter or like a giant planter box or something. Jump up on here. If you crouch, you'll be able to just see the tip of that barrel there. Stand up, you can see just the tip of the yellow barrel there. So it's a great way to challenge those guys. One thing I almost forgot to mention way back in this A spawn building is a lot of times you spawn here and you run straight forward. And you might have enemies that are set up on that area there. If you know or suspect somebody might be standing up there, before sprinting out of this doorway blindly, you can come and check right through here, and they don't usually expect that. Usually they're looking over towards that direction, and you'll be able to pick them off from the side without any issue. So at this point in the game's life cycle, pretty much everybody knows that you can actually wall run around the entire outside of this map. Literally around the entire map without touching the map area. You can wall run on the outside. I'm obviously not going to cover every single little wall run spot on the map because you can wall run on pretty much everything. And a lot of it's really obvious to a lot of people, so I don't want to waste your time. But one little sneaky maneuver that I love to do, especially in demolition when there's a bomb site right up here, and the enemies are really looking this way trying to pick people off from here, is you just jump straight over to this way and you come under this bridge. I almost never see people using this. You can jump up this way, shoot anybody that's trying to head glitch a bomb over here, shoot the people that are up here that are typically looking more so in this direction so they won't see you pop up over here. It's just a great way to sneak up on the enemies by using that really lesser known wall run, I would say. Alright guys, one last thing that's a little bit ridiculous that a lot of people don't know about, pretty much nobody knows about, is when the enemies are set up on this area right here, a lot of times you can get underneath them and they think they're completely safe. Well, first off, you can just spray right through that plywood, and you can also use these little areas right here to see where they are. You can see them through these little cracks in the wood. So you find out where they are, then just spray right through the plywood. You should be able to pick that kill off, no problem. Also, on the reverse to this is where it gets really ridiculous. If they start capping the B flag and you don't want to like drop down and challenge them, look at this. You can actually get a line of sight here. You don't technically shoot through this crack though. You are still shooting through plywood, so you do lose some bullet damage. But like right there is the capture spot. You just spray through here. It'll take a few extra bullets to kill, but it will work almost every time. And it works this way as well. Look at that. There's the capture spot there. You can spray through there and easily kill those guys as they capture the flag. Just be aware, anybody that's coming from this way or that way, depending on which flag you hold, they can easily kill you while you're kind of exposing yourself and looking down like an idiot right here. So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode on Evac. Like I said, there's a ton of other wall runs on this map. You guys can find them for yourself. They're kind of all over the place, and they can be useful in various situations. I'm not saying none of the other wall runs are useful, and all the ones I showed you are the only useful ones. No, not by any means. I just didn't want to cover every single wall run in the map because that would take an entire episode. So, let me know in the comment section below which one of the maps you'd like me to cover next. Keep in mind, I've covered all of these maps that you can see here on screen. And if you want to go see one of those, just click the annotation link that's on the particular thumbnail. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you guys next time.